We're now moving on to Show Me the Money, which is starting off with Samuel Hieber and Mateusz Muszynski from Acquinox Capital. They're going to be talking about investors' perspective, what matters while considering an investment within the mobile gaming space.
So yeah, nice event. Thank you everyone for being here, right? I think it's good conversations. Now I guess a little bit of different topic, right? Very technical right now. I think here we go a bit more high level. So it's more about the investment side. But before we start, just quick introductions, right? Let me see if that works. Yeah, perfect. So my name is Samuel Hieber. I'm from Switzerland, Swiss-based. And my background is pretty much investment management, right? Worked in M&A for many years and then worked through ladders and worked for some of these companies. And now I'm managing director of Acquinox. And we basically do two things. On one side, we do mergers and acquisitions consulting, and on the other side, we do investments. And we'll get to that in a minute. So now, please, Mateusz.
Right, thank you. Hi everyone, so my name is Mateusz Muszynski and I'm investment associate at Acquinox Capital. Actually, before joining the team back in 2023, my career was mainly concentrated around M&A advisory practice. I worked for one of the big four companies, EY, at Warsaw office, where I was involved in dozens of different M&A transactions across the CE region, but every transaction was within the TMT space. And yeah, I guess this is a quick overview of my professional background.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, today we have two topics mainly we want to cover. So on one side, we want to give you a little background of how we invest, right? Give you a bit of insight of what we look for. And then the second piece is what do we specifically, how do we evaluate investments, right? So I think we don't have, the entire truth or anything like that, right? I think for us, it's our approach, and for the investors in the room, they will all have maybe different approaches. I think this is more giving, some of the startups in the industry a bit guidance of how we look at things. Right, so do you want to start?
Yep, of course. Right, so to give you just a quick overview of our operations, Acquinox Capital is a Luxembourg-based private equity fund where we deploy capital through two of our primary investment arms. The first one is the securitization fund, and the second one is Quantum Tech Growth Fund, which is actually a traditional private equity venture capital fund focused on mobile gaming industry, and that part will be probably more relevant during today's presentation. So we're gonna invest a bit more time into it. Starting, however, with the securitization fund, we follow a deal-by-deal co-investment model, which is actually a growing trend within the private equity space nowadays. It means that instead of raising capital upfront, we do the fundraising on an ad hoc basis. Whenever some compelling investment opportunities arise, we then syndicate those to a close network of our investors. And this is actually how this goes. What can I add? We are tech agnostic, meaning we are open to any kind of business models or verticals that can be identified under the general tech umbrella. We are also kind of flexible in terms of the stage of the development. Starting from supporting growth equity for smaller ventures through pre-IPO opportunities and even buyouts of more mature companies. And yeah, you can see a bunch of our portfolio companies on the securitization side on the left bottom of the slide. Then on the other hand, we have Quantum Tech Growth Fund. So like mentioned before, a PE VC fund with a clear mandate to invest across the whole value chain of mobile gaming industry, or in other words, we're talking about vertical integration of gaming. Basically here, we are following kind of a dual strategy, meaning we can do both minority and majority stakes, targeting growth equity and buyout stages as well. Typically, ticket sizes starts with 250k euro and going upwards along with the stage of the development of given company. And yeah, here as well on the bottom of the slide, you can see a bunch of our portfolio companies. We are going to delve into more detail to a selection of those shortly. Oh. Great. Right, so to give you, to elaborate a bit further on Quantum's investment strategy, on the top of the slide you can see a sentence that probably summarizes it in the best way possible. So we aim to invest in companies engaged in value creation and value distribution of gaming products with established revenue model. So in order to give you more context, we try to visualize and maybe even decompose the whole industry into verticals that are of our interest. Those logos presented in here are not necessarily our target companies. They were just placed in here to give you more sense of what kind of business models we are talking about or we are thinking about when investing. So yeah, starting with gaming studios, right, through publishers, player management tools, monetization tools, then ending with all kind of gaming stores or any kind of game distribution you can imagine through cloud gaming and even network optimization. Right, and to add something on top, we've also tried to identify a bunch of general criteria for our investments. You can see them listed on the right hand side. So yeah, starting with the obvious unique product or service offering, right? Then followed by customer locking or some traction already, right, on the top line. Then scalable business model, right, which is very, very important, followed by established development strategy. And the last thing, but probably the most important, is the seasoned and motivated management team, without which unlocking any potential is not possible. Great. Yeah, so like promised, right now we are gonna explore 3 case studies of our portfolio companies, just to showcase maybe our flexibility in terms of different kind of stages of development we can provide support to. So the first one is Blastproof Games, a Romanian company, and this is actually one of our first investments within mobile. With it. So Blastproof was established in 2018, and the company emerged as a game development outsourcing agency, serving external clients and specializing in casual genre. I think throughout the journey they delivered more than 80 high quality games. Right now we are in the process of kind of reshaping the business model in order to become a gaming studio on its own, right? Full-blown gaming studio, creating our own IP casual games. Yeah, what can I add? Exceptional team and yeah, a CEO with vast experience, right, and a clear vision how to lead the way. Hi, Alex. Yeah, we're just before our first soft launches, so keep your fingers crossed. Then Reality Games. This is actually one of our most recent investments. So Reality is a development studio from Poland that specializes in AR geolocation-based games. They can be known from such titles as Landlord Go or Landlord Tycoon. Currently, their biggest project is Monopoly Go. So they have just secured the IP from Hasbro to develop it. Right, and
Monopoly World, right?
Monopoly World. Sorry, yeah, sorry. I'm stressed. Excuse me. Right, so actually this is something more than just a mobile game, right? I mean, the project actually involves some metaverse features. Hopefully this is not a buzzword anymore. But yeah, I mean, you have AR, you have real-life buildings which you can buy and basically dispose to other players, all guided by Mr. Monopoly. Then you have another component which is basically connecting players or users to brands in the offline world, right, through some partnerships. And this is actually a monetization channel which is not that very common in this space, right? So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that this is something more than just a mobile game, right? And yeah, we believe that given their track record, right, in geolocation-based games, globally recognized IP, diversified revenue model, and passion-driven CEO, this game, I mean, this company has huge potential. And yeah, the last one is Epic Games, so probably a company that does not necessarily needs any introductions, right? This is rather a passive investment from our end. However, what brought our attention to Epic was their comprehensive and complementary business model, right? That basically covers different areas of the whole value chain, right? So value creation, value distribution. And we also really like what they are trying to achieve in the mobile right now. So yeah, I guess this is a quick overview of our portfolio.
Good. Yeah, thank you very much. So this is very specific, right? And I think we also want to talk a little bit more general, right, for I think some of you that are building a business. And I think overall we can probably categorize them by 6 subcategories on things we look at. So number 1, we look at the team. Then we look at the business model, what exactly you're trying to achieve, how do you make money, and so on. And then number 3 is the IP. Is there IP being created, right? There are different types of IPs. We'll get into that in a moment. And then third is kind of like the financial and operational efficiency, or kind of how is it, like the finance ultimately is always relevant. And then kind of what money was raised in the past and how has that been used. And as last, who is on the cap table. That's also relevant. So okay, these 6 pillars, so let's get into each one of them in a little bit more detail. So first of all, leadership and team, right? And I think Mateusz has highlighted it with Blast Proof, right? I mean, they're, for us, very clear leadership, strong team, right? And for us, that was a key differentiator. The team needs to be able to sustain, let's say, the highs and the lows. And I think that's the challenge when you have a startup, right? Because initially it's all hunky-dory, but then over time, right, there will be challenges. And going through the challenges, you need to have a strong team, which is well diversified, also with technical skills, as well as, let's say, soft skills and business-wise. That's important. And then also, where does the team come from? Have they been in this gaming industry before, or are they coming in on the side? Obviously, the more experience, the better, right? And I mean, the best of the cases if someone already had an exit before, so they know all the stages of developing a business up until exit. So I think these are the key things, right? And then just having the right talent in the team. So then number 2, we go to business model. So the business model, I think there's, we're talking about mobile gaming here, so the obvious thing is like you're looking at games. Is it one game? Is it multiple games? Do you launch a game per month, or one per year, or one per 2 years, right? But we also look at business model which have nothing to do directly with the game, right? It could be on the back end. It could be some software which is actually the shovels, right? When you look at the gold digging atmosphere, it's also very relevant, right? To have the right infrastructure, and we also look at businesses that do that, right? And then there's different ways of making money, right? So we look at businesses that do advertisement only, but there's also a very good option of having combined or having in-app purchase and so on. Ultimately, it all depends how scalable is it. So I think for us, this is a key requirement, right? We don't want to invest in businesses who only do like work for hire. Ultimately, it needs to be a business model which we believe is scalable, and that will make sense for us. What else is to mention on this point here? I think overall, probably like a clear plan on how you want to further develop it and how you go out to the market. Also, I mean, we've been at this 2 days, right? We hear a lot about industry trends. I think it would be important, right, that the business kind of is aligned with the industry trends. Number 3, intellectual property, and I think this is good when the business builds some intellectual property, but it can be different types of IP. It could be on the back end as well, just how do you collect the data, how do you analyze the data, but it could also be a specific gameplay. So there's very different ways of that. Number 4 is the financials. I mean, for us, and I don't think that goes for all investors, but we typically look at businesses that already make money. Doesn't have to be profitable, but they do have some revenue metrics, which kind of helps us to understand the business. The reality is, I mean, everyone has the best game, right? Everyone has the most beautiful game. And for us, it's very difficult to assess, right, if it's a breakthrough or not. Once we do see some numbers, for us it becomes much more easier to assess. And there we obviously look at break-even points, but even before that, we look at, you know, what is the daily active users and what monthly active users and so on. I think the trends are relevant, right? It's not the absolute number, but it's kind of what trend is it, and how does the team also deal with that, and do you have a good explanation for all of the data? Then, of course, like how is the OPEX being distributed? How is the money being used? Right? Is it all outsourced? Is it all insourced? Do you spend a lot of money on offices? Are you distributed model? I'm not saying one thing is better than the other, but we obviously look at it and try to understand what is the rationale behind it. Some teams prefer to have a very close team, everyone in the same office, which absolutely can make sense. In other cases, it can make sense to have a complete distributed model. But these are all has direct impact on the finance, of course. So yeah, so I think these are the key points, right? I mean, we have 5 more minutes left, so I don't want to go into too much detail on that. We could spend hours on this. I think finance is important, but at the earlier stage, the less it is actually, it can tell us something. Number 5, we have capital raised. You know, how much money has been raised in the past and how has it been used? So we look at let's say they received 1.5 million and they had a specific plan. You know, what did they stick to the plan? What was achieved during that time? And for us also, I mean, it can be actually an advantage if they pivoted, right? So it's not only like you have a plan and you absolutely stick to the plan, but you know, I want to go into this wall, and I did go into this wall, right? So, I mean, if you understand that your plan is not working out, then you're pivoting, and I think that shows the strength of the team. So, so it's, again, it's not about the absolute, but it's understanding, have they been able to raise, how have they used the capital, and what is the burn rate, right? So if we see like they have a significant burn rate, they ask for a specific amount, we already know that in 2-3 months they'll need to raise another capital, you know, potentially it's a problem, right? So we want to understand what is the burn rate, so we can also assess how much money we can put in or have to put in. So yeah, I think these are the key points on that. And then further on, I think the cap table. So typically you have a founding team, you have probably CEO, CFO, or typically not a CFO at that stage, but for sure like some product guy, right? And there needs to be some distribution of equity among those people. So we don't want to see debt equity. So basically, you don't want to have people either are investors or they are working for the business. But you don't want to have people that are not working for the business, nor are they investors and they're shareholders. So I think that's a potential problem, right? If you have debt equity. But even beyond that, I mean, given our size, we're not a massive team. So if we see other players in the that are in gaming space and have invested, we know that they're well guided. You know, the company has a good, you know, advisory board or whatever that is supporting the company. That also gives us comfort when we invest. So I think when you're looking for investors, also make sure that you have companies within the same space that are kind of seen as leaders, investing into your company that's seen positively. Also, what kind of incentives do people have, right, to further grow the business, right? Stock options, whatever, like these are all kind of things we look at. Yeah, I think these are the key points regarding that. Do you want to add anything? No? Good. So yeah, we have like 2 minutes left. If there's any questions, we're happy to take them. Please.
Do you all invest in American companies? Do you invest in US-based companies as well?
So yeah, I mean, we're not specific to a region. We're quite open. We actually do have U.S. companies in our portfolio, right? I mean, Epic Games obviously is a U.S. company, right? So we're quite open to that. I mean, always depends kind of what area you look at, but we're not against U.S. Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much.
Good.